Hello and welcome to the Work is Fun podcast. I'm here with Zac Harrison of Fresh Harvest, and we are going to chop it up a little bit on all the things that he's got going on. It is good to see you again, my friend. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
man, doing well. Glad to be here. We've got some very fun backgrounds happening right now. I like yours.
Yeah, no, I actually swapped offices with my brother because I was going to start recording this, and I needed to. I had like a navy blue
Not as
wall, but you got a nice background too. What were we looking at back
This is
there?
a mural that one of our pals and previous delivery drivers did years ago. Um, Now, when we moved into this space, everything was just classic, boring office, and so this is a handmade, beautiful piece of art right here.
Looks good. It's beautiful. So tell us a little bit about what you do for work. How would you describe that?
Yeah. So we're at Fresh Harvest. Fresh Harvest, in simplest words, is a delivery company that connects people in Atlanta with food that's grown into here. So it's basically like the farmer's market, but then brought to your house. And so we work directly with a lot of awesome farmers that have become friends and partners of ours over the years. And then a customer will get a produce box. That's what shows up, kind of like a new school CSA. And then you can add other stuff on. So you can add on your meat and eggs and milk and granola bars and all that kind of stuff. But we're just here in Georgia.
Amazing.
So
Big fan of the company. It was kind of, it's fun. You get what's that? Like a 4.5 by 6-ish piece of paper in your box each week. And it was cool to see kind of, I can't remember the name of the farm is eluding me, but helping out the folks in
yeah,
Asheville. I think one thing that's easier for me to say as a customer and not the owner is like, it's easy to say that you're working with local farmers and doing these things, and then it's much harder to do them. And I can honestly say it's inspiring to see you guys do that day in, day out as you continue to scale and grow and make an impact. So it's super
yeah, man.
cool.
Thanks. No, and it is actually fun work, as we're gonna talk about, but it's hard work too. It's great. You got to be in it for
Often forward.
yeah.
All right. So this is where I like to start off on the funometer. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much fun do you think you're having at work right now?
Like literally right now in this conversation, having a great
We could say that's the question. And yeah, that's a good piece of feedback. Do I mean literally right this moment? Obviously
yeah,
a 10.
definitely.
But I would say just general last maybe couple weeks, whatever you would consider the recent history.
Yeah, I mean, if I went from 10 being right now today, zoom out a little bit to today in full, probably like a 9. It's a good get.
Dang.
Fresh Harvest headquarters from the standpoint of just doing stuff. I mean, we're not eating popsicles at the moment, so it could be multiple. But I mean, let's say the past month, it's probably in the 8 range. I think you've got to. Is this in the moment fun, or is this like solving a problem that will someday be fun? And it's been more of the latter.
I can definitely relate with that. So tell me, if you were to try to pinpoint the times when you're closer to the nine,
And
10, having the most fun, what activities are you doing? What do you physically feel like you're working on?
no, that's a good question. The first thing that comes to mind always is going and actually visiting the farmers that we work with and doing what we call crop planning meetings, where we're talking with the people who grow the food in their teams and saying, this works, this doesn't. Here's how much we sold last year. What could we do to sell more? That kind of stuff is fun. And it's more the picturesque thing where you're actually walking around a field, and it's probably what people think we do all the time. We don't get to do that all the time, but that's probably the most fun. We
Sounds
also
fun.
occasionally get to like get customers together and do like dinners at a farm kind of thing. That's always one of those fancy things that feels fun. The delivery logistics side happens to be able to provide. So those are probably the most on the surface fun things.
Anything that comes to mind that is like unexpected for you, you secretly love doing book reconciling or anything like that? Like, is there anything in the day-to-day work that you find yourself when you are doing it enjoying more than you would expect?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think and I don't really know why, if it's a personality thing or like a past life trauma thing. I don't know. I like the grinding stuff. I like the super repetitive. If you do it 1,001 times, you're probably a little better than the first 10 times you did it. I think that's like a sense of there's probably some like control freakness in that. But so like,
Protestant work
yeah,
ethic,
yeah. I mean,
control.
we
Yeah.
do the same thing every week. We pack these boxes. It's full of different stuff and for different people, but we pack it and we put it on a truck that spins around Atlanta and then comes back, and we do it over and over and over every week. Same thing. And so I really like the
Beautiful.
packing of boxes and still do that. I'd have that on my calendar each week to get out there with the crew that does that. That like feels nice. It feels like secure, I guess, and comfortable after all these years of doing it. So maybe that's why it's, I don't think most people would think that's fun.
Yeah, but comfortable is such a good word, and I think it is. I mean, if the goal that I like to kind of talk about when I'm thinking about this is that kind of work should be fun and shouldn't be quite as much of a sacrifice as I think a lot of us chalk it up to. So certainly like comfortable and like, when you're a kid, I watch like my 3-year-old now, she just wants to pretend like she's doing whatever the common work things are, whether it's construction or she's a nurse and she's taking your
Yep.
temperature. And that's the most fun thing for her. So there's something in us that just likes that. And it does feel, I think comfortable is a cool word. What are some of the things that you feel like you are doing that are draining or kind of on the other side of the spectrum? They're lowering you down that maybe you feel like you have to do, or you find yourself signing up for that you wish you didn't, things like that.
The first thing that comes up, again, because we do the same thing every week, and one of my weekly recurring tasks that takes a long time is the actual building of our boxes, which is just spreadsheeting for hours. There's probably a more technical way to inform those decisions, cut the time. Not a technical guy so much to like kind of feel in that to make sure you're doing it right. But it's never fun, and it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
But it's what makes orders possible the next week and make sure that the right amount of zucchini and that kind of stuff. But it's more fun.
It sounds like, I mean, one thing I've kind of thought about, and I wonder if it's not fun because like you have to do it on a deadline, but I don't really know anything about developing websites, but I will find myself like trying to adjust the spacing between two lines and get the colors to match or whatever. And it seems like it shouldn't be fun, but I do it for hours at a time sometimes. And I look up and I'm like, well, I just spent 4 hours on this and I didn't do anything. And I think maybe it is fun, but I've just like the detailed nature of it and just what I've perceived as fun for myself has been more, like you're saying, the external. I'm tasting popsicle flavors is the example for me, is like, that seems like super fun. And it is. But yeah, I think there's, I wonder if it's partly because of the pressure of like a deadline versus like the autonomy of whenever. Sometimes deadlines can be stressful for sure.
For sure. Yeah. It has to happen in a block of time every week. It's like it happens in this. Yeah, for sure. So that's part. And it's just a lot of little decisions, you're making, it's fun to make one big one that you make once and then it affects the next 10 years of business, where this is not that. It's like 1,000 that really don't, they have to add.
It's like art. I can kind of only imagine it because you're right. You could imagine certainly like it's easy to say like AI could probably be doing this at that point, but then could it? Because there are these micro decisions that you have to train AI, and you couldn't probably actually pull them out of your brain to say like, this farmer in this is having this exact situation that's going to change in 2 weeks. So I might as well get more of these. I mean, I think there is like this beauty to what I would imagine that job being, which is like you're putting in your 10,000 hours on that, like there's probably, count on a couple hands, maybe less than one hand, of how many people actually like exercise their brain on like the produce side for specifically this community in that way. It's pretty cool if you think about it. What could you change? And this is kind of like maybe a reflection that you've made out of this, or kind of are thinking through, or maybe you won't be able to think of anything, but if you were to get more intentional about work and say like, I want it to be on average, instead of 7.5 or 8, I want it to be more like an 8.5 or a 9. What are the things that you feel like are within your control that you could do, if anything?
Oh man, that's a good question. I will say the things that have worked in the past, I'd probably figure out how to do more of these type of things. Things that have really made it go from, say it was a 5 several years ago to 7. I'm just kind of making that up. The most
Sure.
impactful stuff has been working with awesome people who then have the autonomy and creativity and empowerment to make all their 1,000 own decisions, that it's like, man, I didn't even know we were doing that. And that's amazing that you took this, ran with it. It impacts, the overall uh, team or business of Fresh Harvest in great ways, but also it's something that I wouldn't have ever thought of. Um,
Yeah, I love
and
that.
like that tends to be the most rewarding stuff these days. I guess that's top of mind because there's like a couple that had happened in the past couple of weeks I can use. But I don't really know how to free people up more, but
Increase
get
it.
more creative about making sure the right people are in the right places, empowered the right way, like letting those things happen. I think that would be the thing. I also like if there was a way to not have my email inbox always be just exploding with feeling behind, that's probably the area of like the on the mundane brings the most stress. And I know there's a bunch of people who would say you could do this, that, or the other AI related summary stuff, but I don't know. There's
Yeah.
got to be a better way.
Yeah, I think email is one that I keep coming. It's on my list of things that I don't like doing. And I also think I'm part of the problem
When
in that I am addicted to looking at.
Yep.
Um, and I think it's all kind of like productivity hacks and strategy. And I think that's a little bit overdone. You can kind of stress yourself out by trying to be
Right.
productive. And so there's some amount of flow that needs to happen. But yeah, I think I can relate to that. One thing that you mentioned that kind of popped into my mind, and it's about like who you're spending time with and who you're working with and how like you can curate those moments a little bit more, or at least increase the frequency. As a small business owner, I mean, we have like this really fun opportunity of doing like popsicle
Mm.
collabs. And on the manufacturing side, they're always like, no,
Just help
Steve, no,
and
no, no. And so over the last several years, I've kind of been like, yeah, we'll just kind of cool off on that. But it's so much fun just to talk about
Mm.
it with people. Like they light up with like ideas because it's a popsicle and it's silly. And so that's like been my like maybe the equivalent of like you talking about the farm dinners or visiting a farm, like an opportunity to authentically get in front of people um is pretty fun for sure. And that's definitely been a theme in the few conversations I've had about this so far, that when you're out and about with kind of it's a lot of a headache to get to that point, but then when you're at that point, it is pretty
Well,
fun.
I
So,
think like it as
um,
so say you did a fresh harvest specific pop. What that does to me and the other people who would be involved in the flavorizing, like it makes you then feel special and proud too. I have no idea what goes into all of that, and who knows
yeah,
if anybody would like a fresh harvest popsicle, but we would at least be able to taste one and like
wow,
keep the wrapper and frame it and put it on the wall or something. And that makes
that'd be cool.
receivers feel good.
Yeah, we are just so everyone. If we have any listeners out there that are masters of a cheap cooler, cheap, sustainable, environmentally friendly cooler option that
There
we
you go.
can
For
uh,
sure.
take back and
Oh,
forth with people's fresh harvest box. Zach and I want to do it.
yes.
We just got to figure out now.
Getting
So,
pops.
cool, man. We're awesome chatting. Is there anything on your mind that you want to tell the folks about things you've got going on over at Fresh Harvest that would be timely or help? What's going on for the holidays?
Yeah, no, we've got holidays are always an awesome just product offering, unique time for us. Thanksgiving and turkeys and all that kind of stuff. We just have a bunch of stuff coming in. So that's always fun. I think we have a couple things that have come across this year that are hopefully exciting to others beyond just people that work here. We've our Share the Harvest, which is like now officially our nonprofit separate entity arm,
Oh,
is
cool.
up and running. And we've been doing those efforts for a long time, but like officially breaking it up.
I was
Yeah,
official.
that's as of like a month ago. So that's kind of new news. So we're really excited about that. The
That's
mobile
great.
market stuff. We're pumped about that. We think we have some cool, unique ways to do that and expand that. And then we are We've moved our garden spaces. So like I said, getting people together and hands in the dirt, working at our garden was something we used to do a lot. We had to literally move to a new location. And so that's happening. And I think spring of next year will be when like people can come out again and we're actually harvesting from it and putting that stuff in people's boxes. So those things feel kind of like big projects.
Yeah, those feel big. Yeah, congrats. It's amazing. Well, big fan. Obviously, love Fresh Harvest. If you're in the Atlanta area, definitely check it out. If you know someone in the Atlanta area, have them check it out. And until next time, Zach, have an awesome day. Good to
Thank
see you.
you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Work is Fun podcast. And remember, if you're not having fun at work, you've got two options. Do something to make it a little bit more fun, or get yourself a popsicle cart. Until next time, have an awesome week. Adios.